I think Nicholas is some further along in it as well, based on something he posted.
Do you want my screen, or were you going to share yours?
Oh, go, you go.
Oh, okay. It's been a little bit since I sat down and looked at this, but I'm trying to get this. I'm trying to understand how, we're using the inventory info, but over here we need to be using client info on our client update. And so I'm trying to figure out, like, is that client info coming from here because the vehicles model, the inventory info is coming from here, so our client info is going to be the same thing, only instead of inventory item we're going to get client info. Is that what you have? Is that how that's working for you? Is that what we were supposed to do?
All right, so what are you looking at? Is that your accounts?
Yeah, accounts model. If I need to make the code bigger, let me know.
Yeah, but
and then the
why?
vehicles model. I'm trying to copy what we did in the vehicle update, the client update, and in the vehicle update, we echo again all these values, like if.
Okay, so
set, and then we echo. Now we're going into this variable, which I think connects over here.
All right, so pause. Let me just explain what is happening. All right, so INV info is an array. That's basically it, right?
Yeah, but where's that array? Is it right here?
It was created. It was basically created on the fly. So, because remember, even though your PHP, you're basically connected to an entire PHP environment with all those includes. So wherever you put PHP, you can basically create a variable anywhere you want.
Okay.
So it's basically starting in the scope of that form right there. And once you define, say for instance, you assign anything to an array, it just automatically becomes an array. If you assign an integer to it, it automatically becomes an integer. So it's not necessarily something that it's not as strict as some programs where you have to put like int that so forth or string that so forth. So basically this array here, it basically just collecting all of these items, just grabbing everything, and then you're going to use that array within your controller or your model, where it starts to unpack everything. So that's basically why you have that INV info. It's just to unpack all the results in order to say, all right, this is the original, this is the new thing, swap them. That
right.
kind of
okay, so I understand that it's an array, and I understand you're saying we just made this up inside of this page. Is that right?
Yeah, basically, because that's where it
doesn't have anything to do with this.
No, it still has. Think about the entire website as this one big PHP thing.
Okay.
Once you include something within the environment, it's basically within the PHP environment.
Okay.
Because your vehicles model is basically included, it's basically a part of the entire thing. So it can still call that INV info. And then what you need to understand as well is that the INV info that you return here doesn't necessarily mean it's the same INV info as the other one, because it might just be within the scope of this function. So a function has its own scope, and then you have other variables that have their own scope. So you might just be passing the data back and forth, but because it just relates to this function, it's just within the scope of this function. So that INV info is literally different from the one that you're looking at over the other side.
Okay. So on your client update, you changed it to client info, right?
All right, so the client info is your session, it should be your session name basically.
I don't know. I think I'm still lost.
Yeah, because the client info, if you, because basically what I get from it is every time I take the session information, you put it into client info basically. So the session contains all the variables within it, and that's how you're basically able to use your client information.
All right. I'm not picking up what you're saying. So I'm gonna
All
have to
right.
figure out a different way to it's not you. It's totally me. It's like, I promise. It's all me. It just
All right, let me see if I can show you.
it just seems like this is calling the array from this function where we're returning our info where we use it right here. So this is our array. And that's why that works here. But like, tell me if I'm wrong, if I'm understanding that wrong. It seems like you're saying, no, this is a brand new variable, but how does it know that it's an array? Like, that has to be set somewhere.
Yeah, because when you first used it, you basically put that square bracket and assign something to it. So it just
like where, like Trevin, where did I make that first? Like, where is this coming from? Where is it calling it originally? It's got to go to our index, right?
So
like
it either it's created, like when you because basically you create your client info there, right?
So sorry, let's talk about inventory info first. Just this. So like,
let's see.
Where it's
can you right click it and look for all, like peek at it to see if you can find where it starts from? Let me see if that's possible.
Like where I start inventory info? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, because some things you can peek at. So let me just bring up mine and see if I can peek at it. That's in your client update, or no, your vehicle update, right? Yeah. Go to references. All right. 28 references. Are any of them anywhere else?
All right, remember that and write it down.
Okay, not there. Because we literally start using this from the title up top, right?
This info, yeah, like up here in the, I mean, we add it here. Okay, it's okay. I'll help you in a minute. Like, I know it starts here and then we continue it on and it's all just part of this array. But like, where?
Yeah, it's just this one massive array. But basically, where do you say that it's an array? That's basically what you're trying to wrap your mind around.
Yes. So is it right here? And then right here?
Yeah, you know, that looks basically like it. Look at that get inventory item info function. So basically it selects all from inventory.
Right. So selecting everything. So
yeah, and then fetches everything.
If that's how we did that, then if I go to my accounts model and I make the same thing, just with the clients.
Yeah.
Then we get our client info. Then I can use that client info and put it right here in my update client info, and then I can use it in here. Is that right? Is it going to work?
Yeah, it should work because it's basically within the scope. It's basically within the scope of the
Okay. I just didn't know,
entire
like,
thing.
it like bounces here and there, and I don't know that I'm doing it right. That's why I'm saying I'm hoping this is where this goes.
I like your comment.
Yeah,
Sounds like
I
this week's
totally
pretty
get what
intense.
you're saying. Yeah,
Yeah.
this week is very intense, but I think you actually know where it's going.
Okay.
But what I want you to understand,
Okay.
all right, so let's go back to the controller where you call that function.
Right here?
No, that's not where you called it. Where did you call it?
Right here in my controller.
No, get back to the INV info. Ugh, I'm hitting over everything.
Oh, okay. Right here. Client info. This.
No, the INV info.
Okay. IMV info.
Yeah, since we know that basically is working for you, right?
Okay. Inventory. Yeah.
Okay, so go to the controller where you got it.
Right.
All
I
right.
think right here. I think. I'm
All
hoping.
right.
Because it's only, here's the thing that's a little confusing to me.
Mhm.
This is only in the delete.
Yeah.
And it's not down here in the actual delete, and it's not up here in the update vehicle. It is only in the delete. And so,
Yeah, but that form literally calls delete. So if you look at the form,
this form. Right here. So this form where we are, this is updating. So this doesn't call any delete. There's no delete option.
so you
That's
don't
why-
drop that because I basically put the in the form method post. I basically call the mod and the delete from there.
Yeah, I don't. And that's just part of the activity. You know, that he doesn't say we need to call them in here. I think that's why it's like confusing to me on how this
Let
page.
me look at the activity because I know for a fact that it basically
You don't have this here?
gave an example. All right, hold on.
So does that make sense though, that question where this page, the vehicle update?
Yeah, I understand exactly what you're battling with because you need to see how it flows, how
Yes.
the data is flowing.
Yes.
All right, let
And
me just
Nicholas
jump on.
or
the
Nicole,
activity.
if you guys see that, like, let me know. Tell me.
I was wondering myself.
Okay.
All right, that one is was that the updating inventory? That was updating inventory, right?
Update, yeah, or vehicle.
All right, so let me see if I can
Vehicle.
find the form. Okay, next. Let's see, where is that case? Case update. Evening. Okay. I don't see him put the form there. Let's see.
Yeah, so it was interesting because this week was the first week I've struggled to even get through an activity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So because I went through it and it was broken. Like I'm not sure if anyone saw my post. Well, I know you did, Trevin. And but it wasn't connecting like it was supposed to, and such. But anyways, I had to add the classification ID to the get classifications function in my main controller, or in
Yeah.
my and not my main controller, but my main vehicle model, and or my main model. I mean, because that's what it was looking for it at. But I had previously, I'm not sure if it was because that's how we did it in a group, or because somewhere else, or the activity or enhancement, or even Cole, because I had put it in, create a new one for a Git classification list, and had put it in my vehicle model, not my main model.
Oh, okay.
And so that one has it getting it by classification ID and or by the classification name.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it wasn't pointing at that. It was pointing at, in his code that he said he uses, pointing specifically at classification. It's not the classification list one that I had built. So I wasn't sure. I'm like, well, I don't remember why I did it that way. If it was because that's how we had done it, or someone did it and I was kind of using that as a model, or someone told me to do it that way, or that's how it did it. But
Yeah.
Okay. So basically, do you remember when we were doing that activity and we weren't sure where to put it?
yeah,
Yeah. Because I remember I was saying that we probably will have to move that code around one day.
oh, gotcha.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So we basically weren't 100% sure where to put it at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I figure I might not be the only one that ran into that issue, so I put that in there, and then I just posted and explained.
Yeah, because
He's like, well, how's that working? Because we had to have that used to get the. I was like, oh well, I had built a new function called get classification list and put it in my vehicles model, but this one is pointing to the get classifications, which is in my main model. Anyway, it works, but it may be redundant.
Maybe. So Cassie?
Yeah. What's up?
I'm trying to figure out where that case mod is called, because I called it. that's what I knew.
Okay.
Because
so I know where that's called. That's called in the admin page. So when we build the table,
Mhm.
well, it's in the table. Okay, you're right. I don't know where it is. But it shows up on this page after we've selected what we're going to do.
All right. So what?
Vehicle management. Maybe it's the vehicle management page.
Because if you notice this week we have 2 hidden values.
We have what? Sorry?
We have 2 hidden values.
Yeah. Yes.
All right. So, all right, let me just share my screen a bit.
Okay.
This is just my understanding of it.
Okay.
So are you guys going over? Are you having a problem with the enhancement right now? Part of it.
I mean, I'm just trying to understand how he's using his inventory info. His inventory.
Are you seeing my screen?
Yeah. So see on his line like 109, he's got an inventory info variable and it's an array. I want to do the same thing with our client as part of the enhancement, but I want to make sure that I understand it and that I'm doing it right. I haven't tested it, but I'm not sure I even understand the path that it's following.
All right, so let's just try to, let me close everything and open them one by one. All right, so we're looking at vehicle update, and we're looking at the vehicles controller. All right.
Recorded? Okay.
And vehicle update, and what's the other one we're looking at? There's one more, vehicles model, right? Yeah, vehicles model. All right. So basically, we defined a case mod and a case delete based on what I was looking at in the reading, and the fact that these variables exist here. So this inventory ID filters input gets the ID, and then this inventory info gets the basically goes into the get inventory item info, which is in the vehicles mod.
Yeah.
Yeah, come.
Right.
All right, right here, right? Now, that's a basically what you call this now. All right, so remember the case doesn't get called until the page calls it, right?
Right.
All right, so this mod and this delete doesn't do anything unless you send something to it. All right, so in vehicle update, when we submit this form, we need to call that mod or that delete. And that's basically why I basically call it up here.
You're gonna do my changes, kids.
Right? So do you see that in the form?
I see it, but I'm not, I don't think mine says that.
Yeah, yours doesn't say that, but that's basically what I understood why they even put these two variables here, this inventory info and this inventory ID. Because I was saying the case doesn't do anything until you call it, but where does it get called? And the only place I could see was when they kind of gave us a hint to add one more input type as hidden. So the minute I saw this, I was like, okay, this must be calling the case. Get what I'm saying? Because that's the only place you can call the case, right? So it would only make sense that the case is called from here.
Okay.
But then it's calling basically two things, because it's still doing the update vehicle here, but it's also sending these variables here. But where do these variables go?
Yeah, where do
So yeah, so basically, because I couldn't call update vehicle alone, I basically just told the form to post to the case. And that's basically where those variables go. Now, this case basically just checks
Yeah.
for the ID that's coming from over here.
Okay.
And then it basically just drops in the same inventory info and then throws this ID to call out all the information that's within there. Then it counts it. Now, the fact that it starts to count it means that it's looking if this information has any data in it. And if it doesn't find any information, then it says, sorry, there's no vehicle information.
Yeah.
Then it goes back to the update page and it exits. That's all this case does. And that's the only place I see where you could possibly implement this case. Now we go back. So basically, we are now checking for update vehicle because there are two hidden updates here, and one of them has the action. And basically, this inventory ID basically just throws everything within this if this PHP block here back to the case. Now we're done with the case because all the case is doing is checking if the info is blank. So we go up to our update vehicle, and this is where you literally start doing all your data. That's where everything else that is in here, all these values, these inputs, all these inputs will start going into this update data. And also the inventory ID is going here as well.